as adults, we often do talk over our children and don't give enough pause. And it's just something that naturally happens because we're a bit faster paced, where the kids really need time to hear what we're saying, process it, think about how they're going to say it back, and then try these new sounds and words.
Hello and welcome to Demystifying Child's Play. I'm Ruth Verco, and today on the podcast, I'm looking forward to chatting with Paige O'Dwyer, who is a mum of two and the founder of Talk First Words, where she helps parents to encourage and promote their little ones talking using her everyday moments method, turning snack time, bath time, and playtime into real language building opportunities, which I love. I'm all about using everyday moments not only to connect with your children, but to weave in language and learning through play and life. Pages make speech development simple, fun, and totally doable for families navigating late talking and speech delays. So welcome, Paige. Paige has an absolute wealth of knowledge, so I knew that limiting to 5 top points was not going to be easy, so we thought we'd front foot it, and I'm going to do this as a 2-part series. So if we're starting from ground zero, Paige, giving a 101, where would you start?
Well, just as you said, with that everyday moments, I really love to talk to parents about all the little hidden gems that are in their everyday routines for opportunities for language learning. I think sometimes parents get a little bit overwhelmed with when they have a late talker, thinking about what they need to do. And often it's just about taking a step back and knowing that you don't need any extra special tools, and really just being able to tune in and support your child in the things you're already doing every single day.
Fantastic. So with everyday moments, what are those everyday moments?
So those are the things you have to do every single day. So like you said, those meal times, dressing, bath times, even running errands, just those little opportunities for language learning. And so the everyday moments are just things that are not added or new. They're just, what does your day look like? And how can we break that apart to add language up?
Okay, so if we think about one of those situations, what would you do?
Okay. So how I often like to start this with parents is picking one strategy, because I have kind of my top 10 strategies that I love to teach parents. But when I want them to think about their day, I like to take one strategy and run it through the whole day. And then we take another strategy and run it through their whole day, because a parent knows what their routines are inside and out. But they've never really probably sat down and tried to think about those routines and what they're actually doing from wake up to bedtime. So what we do is pick one strategy and go through their day. So let's just zoom out and pick one of my favorite strategies, which is choice making. So with choice making, we start at breakfast. Okay. So they're coming down and you can start by asking, do you want an apple or a banana? And when we offer choices, it gives a child an opportunity to see both the items and to hear the words right away and then make a confident choice. Or if they're not talking yet, they can point to it or even look at the one they want. And at every stage of a child's language development, they can somehow make a choice and a parent can support them on that. So that could be a breakfast item. Then during dressing, you could offer choices as, do you want a shirt or do you want your pants? So just helping the child be involved and hear that immediate language and be able to give a response is really what we're after. The cool thing with choices as well is that we can keep building on language. So if your child already knows what shirts and pants are, then we can add some descriptions. We can say, do you like the striped shirt or the polka dot pants? And add some of those things in to give them some choice, where we're always adding something new to their vocabulary and development. But it can be in that really easy way to make.
I think choices is such a key way to work with our children, because I know of toddlers myself at the moment, they're all about having the choice and all about being in control. And so while you're still guiding, you're not going to say, do you want these 5 different options and which one of these 5? You're just giving them 1 or 2 options. They're still getting that chance to be in control, and having that limited control means they're not bombarded with choices and language and thoughts in their head, which completely confuse them. So I really like that idea of just offering a couple and giving them those choices to communicate how they want to start, whether, as you said, it's verbal or pointing or even just nodding and looking. They've got so many different ways and being attuned. I also had a bit of a giggle about how you're saying running through the day and what happens with our baby on the way. We've had to write out this list of what happens for our boys' day just in case we're both gone and someone else comes to look after them, and trying to remember all those little bits in the day. And then, as you're saying, there's so many chances for language development and connection through all those parts, but actually running through what happens when? When do we have snack time? Oh, yes, there's nap time. Oh, this is what they do here too. So many points. So what you're saying really is just about noticing what's happening in the moment and talking about it.
Absolutely. And like you said, when you actually go through your day, I think it's almost refreshing to parents to go, wow, I am doing so much in the day that I didn't even think about. Yes, there's opportunity to add language into the day, and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. So the key is really to match your child's level, what they understand and what they're able to say back. So just we're going to give them enough just to stretch a little bit so they can grow without overwhelming them. And choices makes that easy because like I said, we can adjust that to the child's language.
Yes, and it's really interesting just being able to go through those motions and learn on the go. But you did mention parent coaching. So how does parent coaching fit into it?
Right. So parent coaching is my favorite because it is just about helping parents realize that they are the child's most important teacher. So when parents come in for speech therapy with me in my office, it is such a small time, half an hour a week, half an hour every couple weeks, whatever they can fit in. And they really need to understand that they are the ones that are with their child all day and can just take a couple of these strategies and support language all day long. So the key really in parent coaching is helping them look for these opportunities and know how to respond and add the language in a way that their child can.
That is so key. And just talking with your children, that's one thing I've really noticed is for me, I'm quite a big talker. And my husband's quite a big talker too. And seeing the language development of our children has just been amazing. But then also noticing friends and encouraging them to talk to their kids more and just seeing where that progress has kind of plateaued and then just keeps going because they're like, oh, actually, even if they're not responding, whether they're babies, whether they're slightly older, everything is being taken in as long as they can hear what the parents are saying. They've got everything. And so just getting that language, getting those words and reading as well. There's so many opportunities. So you've kind of talked about parents talking with their kids, and so have I. But what are parents going to say in these moments?
Great question. So I think the very best thing for parents to know first to say is to really understand their child's level of communication. So what I walk parents through first is to think about what is your child understanding and what is your child doing. And a lot of the times parents say to me, my child understands everything, but they're not saying anything yet. And a couple of things I want you to think about. So if you go to a new country, you would hear someone talk in a long sentence and you might understand the gist of what they're saying, right? Especially if they're adding gestures and movements and pointing to some things, you could understand the idea, but you wouldn't know which word matches what they're saying and how to use those words to be expressive yet. So, what I encourage parents to do is to use their full sentence, but then break it down so that the child knows exactly what word matches. We can do that with adding gestures, pointing to the different objects, offering those choices, or just breaking things down to the child's language level. So if you went to say, go grab your shoes, then you might just say, shoes after. Or if you said, bring me the book, book, bring it to me. So it's just about using the full sentence, but then breaking it down a little bit more to really help your child understand. And then when we talk about expressively knowing where your child's at, that's when we're going to be intentional about our language models. So if your child isn't using any words yet, thinking about what needs to come before that. And actually, there's about 11 skills that need to happen before a child's first words even come. And that is often mind blowing to parents because we think that children are just going to start to speak, right? Um, but something that they need to be able to do is imitate first and make sounds and make environmental noises like those, oh, whoops, those kind of fun noises, right? So if your child's not talking at all, instead of asking them to repeat all these words, first we'll just start with sounds. So if you were at mealtime and you're eating, you might and pause and let them try to copy you. If you're playing cars, you might go beep, beep, crash, woo, those sort of fun noises that they can copy first. And so again, it's all about knowing what your language level is at. If a child is using one word already, then you'll add one more to it. And I like to just call this the one up rule because it's really easy to understand and use. So if your child's saying ball, you could maybe say goal ball or throw ball or my ball. And so we're always adding one more because that's something that's in the child's ability to repeat. We can't expect the child who has one word to repeat a sentence of 5 words, right? So we always want to break it down and model one step above what they're.
I love that. And I love what you're saying about the give the word or sound and then pause and give them a chance to do it themselves. That's one thing I'm all about with watching children's play and engaging with children in communication is that pause moment. Because as much
Yes.
as we want to fill our kids with language and we want to be really language rich and talk about what's happening, we actually do need to give our children the chance to talk and the chance to express themselves. So having that pause after you've made the sound or the comment or the inflection and giving them that chance is so important. And then you're
Yes.
saying about the expressive and receptive. So if people aren't too sure, so expressive is what the children can say themselves. It's being able to get those expressions out, being able to say things. and receptive is what they take in, what they understand. So it's really key being able to know there's those two parts of language, especially with babies and little kids and kids that aren't verbal yet. Often that receptive is so strong. They actually do really grasp what's coming on, what's happening, but it's the expressive that they're having some struggling with. So it's being able to give them that chance, that pause to be able to express. And then you're also talking about layering language. So that was something about in the small moments.
Yes, absolutely. And just one thing to add to what you were saying, because I love that too, when we're adding that pause, is I love the rule of three because we have to remember this is all new for our kids, right? So as you're saying the receptive is stronger, that makes sense, right? Because they're listening to language all day, but they don't always have a chance to practice it. And as adults, we often do talk over our children and don't give enough pause. And it's just something that naturally happens because we're a bit faster paced, where the kids really need time to hear what we're saying, process it, think about how they're going to say it back, and then try these new sounds and words. And that takes so much more time than we often allow for them. So I do love that pause. I think it's such a powerful piece in our coaching of parents. And then also the rule of three is to do it 3 times so that the child has a chance to practice. So I might say something like ball, and then I allow the pause and wait. And then I'm going to say it again, ball, and no expectation. I'm not going to say ball. Then we'll get to that next. But then saying it again that third time. And again, if the child doesn't try to say it, that's okay. We're going to give them the ball anyways. But we've then had that intentional modeling of that word and they've heard it 3 times in a row because once is never enough. Even when the child says it back, parents sometimes say, well, they said it. Now they're just being stubborn or lazy. And that's not the case. It's always that they can maybe imitate it in that one time they were with you and practicing, and then they didn't remember how to recall it. So just offering those repetition pieces and that rule of three, we're going to say it 3 times in a row to give that extra practice time. But that power of the pause, like you're talking about, is so important when we're teaching.
You're right. And then understanding language in certain scenarios or just in that repetition is so key to know as well. I know with my teaching hat on, sometimes I'll be sitting at a table with children and they seem to have got something 100%. And then they move to their own table and it's gone. And so that's situational learning. They've got it, they've moved, they've lost it. And so understanding actually, as you said, that repetition again in different scenarios, different locations, different people is so key. Now, you just mentioned something, you're saying we are going to come to something soon. Is that your 3S method?
Yes, that's right. So again, I just wanted something parents to grab onto. So when I talk about the 3 S's, I talk about what we can stop doing, what we can simplify, and then what we can start doing. So stop, simplify, and start. And with the stop, there's just so many habits that we as adults sometimes have that block language. And one of these things can be that we are often super parents in that we know exactly what our kids need. We truly know what they're going to need, when they're going to need it, because it's so in tune to us. But sometimes when we act as these superheroes and get their things right away, we miss an opportunity for learning language and how to initiate what a child might. So sometimes I encourage parents to do communicative temptations, which is setting up a situation where a child would need to ask for something. And so I might give a snack with the lid still on. And it's kind of that playing dumb, really. And then the child will have to initiate in some way. If they don't have words yet, this is a great opportunity to model what they could say. So they're just going to go, you could say, oh, no, open or help, whichever word you think matches in the moment the best is a word you can model. Again, the rule of three, you can model it 3 times, but giving those little opportunities to set up some obstacles in their day. Sometimes I'll give them a cup without anything in it. And then they're going to be so confused and look at you and go, oh no, water or more. We can model those words that might come up. And last idea on this is that you could put up a favorite toy just out of reach. And then we could model the name for that favorite toy or down or anything like that that will help the child initiate for next time and use those words. And so that is one thing that we can stop doing is just knowing their every need and doing it before they have a chance to ask. The next thing I always encourage parents to stop doing is adding pressure because often as adults, we ask a lot of questions. And that can make our kiddos just tune out, not want to engage. And things like, so I often say to parents, if you know the answer, try not to ask that question. Because as we know, questions can be great if it's something like, do you want to go down the slide or the swing? Do you want the hot one or the cold one? Those sorts of things are great. But if we're just doing it as a test, like what's this, what's this, what's this, what color is this, then often we see kiddos back out. And so instead, we can just model comments. So instead of saying, what do you have? You could say, you have a car, or look, it's a truck, my truck, and just model the words that they would say if they could say it. And honestly, that one switch in a perspective for a parent trying to catch themselves asking questions and instead making a comment is so powerful.
And I really like that. And I think that comes back to what you were saying before about the layering as well, is if they already have the word truck and they're holding up a truck, that's when you could go, oh, you have the blue truck, or oh, you've got
Exactly.
the big truck. So as you're saying, it's that layering. It's being able to do that a little bit more than what they've just had, but giving them no pressure and they're just getting exposed. They're receiving that language to be able to then one day express it as well. Okay, so your first S is stop. What's your second S?
Is just to simplify. So we talked about this already when we're just trying to give them the language at their current level. And again, the reason being we want kids to copy us, but we can't give too much or else they cannot copy. And with this as well, this kind of goes in between stop and simplify. A lot of times I hear parents say things like, say truck, say car, say ball. And two reasons that I don't love this is the first one is because, again, it's adding some pressure. So instead of just modeling the word we like truck, ball, when we add say, it requires that extra pressure where a child is maybe nervous or doesn't really want to comply because they're toddlers after all. But the second thing is we're adding an extra word now. So if I want my child to copy the word I'm going to use, and now I put say in front of it, I'm actually taking off the highlight of the real word that I want, right? And that extra word is in the way. And also, if my child's only at that one word level and I'm going to put say in front of everything, I'm modeling at a two word level. Does that make sense? So I really want to get rid of the word say and just model that word of what we're teaching the child. So this is both stop doing say, but also to simplify the language. And we just want to exaggerate and highlight those words that we want our child to imitate or copy.
And what I think we need to remember here is what we're talking about is children that have a language delay or
Yes.
children that need that extra support. And I feel like with any children, whether they've got the language delay, need the extra support, or whether they're in a trajectory that's seen more as normal, what they're doing is you're thinking about how you're interacting with them and you're giving them language. Throughout the day, they're getting exposure to all this other language as well. And so when you're doing this ball, big ball, that's directly at them. But then you might be talking to your husband or your partner or your friend, and you can intentionally have these conversations that they can overhear saying, oh, I'm going to go and play with that big ball outside now. Let's go get that big ball outside. So they're overhearing you talk to someone else using more language, expanded language. But for them, when they're needing that extra support, you're being really simple. So it's stop, simplify, and then what's your third S?
And then start is the last one. And I also wanted to just comment on what you said because you're exactly right. They still need the full language models to hear how language goes back and forth and all the ups and downs of our voices. But then it is, and that's more that receptive piece. Can I understand all these things mom and dad are saying to me? But you're exactly right. That intentional is when we're getting them to copy our words. So that's perfect. And then the start is one thing I really want parents to try and do is start really observing what your child is interested in. So when we add this small change and really watch what the child is looking at, then it changes everything about what we can model to them as well. And again, as well-intentioned parents and adults, we often just have an agenda of what we want to teach, right? And it happens in my speech therapy sessions all the time too. I have set up this awesome activity that I think is so great, and the child sees something else in the room and goes a different direction. And it's just so much easier if we can get rid of our agenda and follow their lead. The language that they then need is going to be more important to them. Their attention will be higher and they'll tune into that a bit more. So we're going to get them to start, we're going to ask parents to start really tuning in to what the child is looking at and modeling language that they could use.
And this is where going right back to the start, those everyday moments and play just goes hand in hand. If people here aren't familiar with play schemas, this is what I love is play schemas is what children are drawn to. It's natural, it's their urges, it's universal. And so once you're understanding their play, you're not trying to set up these activities and be like, why are they not doing all the scooping and pouring? It's actually because they're into throwing right now, which is the trajectory schema. So if you set up a scooping and pouring one and they just end up throwing lentils all around the room, you could have avoided it by giving them a throwing activity. So when you've got this knowledge about language development and you pair it with the knowledge of play schemas, putting them together is so great. And that means you're going to have so much more success, so much more fun, so much more joy and less frustration in your everyday parenting. So you've shared so much. I think we're going to close off here because I know for me, there's a lot for me to think about and for our parents
Yes.
too. But if there was one thing you wanted parents to take away from today, what would that be?
Oh, the one thing is just that these everyday moments are everywhere and they're so powerful. So, just parents, you do not need extra tools and you don't need fancy toys. You just need to be intentional about what we're going to model to our kids. And that is everything.
That is so good. So in our next episode, what we're going to do is focus a bit more on play and talking about language. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. I can't wait to dive into that because you're right. They are so connected.
Fantastic. That is so good. Now, for everyone listening, if there's things you're thinking, I need to revisit this, don't worry. All of this is going to be on the blog as well. So you can go to playschemas.com/blog. That's play, schemas.com/blog. And if you're wanting to find Paige, where are we going to find you?
I am on Instagram offering lots of daily tricks and tips. And so that is at Talk First Words. I also do have a website, talkfirstwords.com, and I do have a freebie package as well. If you want to DM me play on Instagram, then I have lots of handouts about these first steps and things to do with your children to get language going. And I'm happy to send that to you.
And again, if you can't remember those, I'll have them on the blog, and also they're going to be down below this episode, so you can just click straight on it. And I can say that I've had a look at her handouts, and they are just super simple, 1-2 pages, and there's so much information in there. So definitely reach out to her if you've got any questions. So thank you so much, Paige. I'm looking forward to getting into part 2. But everyone remember, in this next week, today is a great day to play, and it's a great day to put little bits of language into your everyday. We'll see you in a week. If you've ever wished that you had a group of parents who just get it, I would like to welcome you to the Play Schemas Collective. It's where you can ask questions without judgment, share those little wins only another parent would understand, and dive deeper into your child's play with people who speak your language. Join us at playschemas.com/collective for more information. We can't wait to have you on the inside.